16 minutes now past the hour here on the East Coast. The EPA coming under fire after an official compared the agency's enforcement policy to crucifixions.
I was in a meeting once and I gave an analogy to my staff about my philosophy of enforcement, and I think it was probably a little crude and maybe not appropriate for the meeting, but I'll go ahead and tell you what I said. It was kind of like how the Romans used to conquer little villages in the Mediterranean. They'd go into a little Turkish town somewhere, they'd find the first 5 guys they saw, and they'd crucify them. And then, that town was really easy to manage for the next few years.
That official has since apologized, but is that the conquer mentality? Is it on par? Is it on par for the course with the EPA? And is this good for business in general? Joining us now is Fox News contributor and business leader Amelia Antonetti. Amelia, nice to see you this morning.
Good morning.
You heard the apology, of course, after this comment came out about crucifying individuals. But does it, where there's smoke, there's fire in this administration? Is this part of the administration's agenda, going after people who would go against EPA policy?
Yeah, and you heard him say it. He said this is probably crude and inappropriate, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway. Right. So I'm like, okay, so with intent, you're going to go ahead and do it. Look, we are all in this together, and the more we continue to have the hostile language and try to pull people into that bucket versus this bucket, no, we're all in the same boat, rowing in the same direction to turn this thing around. And yes, I'm very environmental. I'm very green. It was part of how I started one of my first companies. But the reality is, jobs must come before whales and trees right now.
Do you have to compromise, though, on that issue? The White House argues that they are trying to undo the 8 years of the Bush presidency, rolling back all sorts of environmental guidelines, mountaintop mining removal in West Virginia, on and on and on. They wanted to roll these back to help the environment. But does that wash with being pro-business? Can the two coexist equally?
I think if they can coexist if it's actually realistic, meaning that we are so bound right now by so many rules and regulations, which means it takes really hard capital to be in compliance. Well, do you want me to take that capital and go into compliance, or do you want me to take that capital and go invest in jobs to be able to go into the areas that we actually need right now to bring back manufacturing, to bring back control, to bring back the strength that this country needs right now? Which one is the priority? Because everything can't be a priority, and that's the problem with the administration. Right now, everything's a priority. No, you can only have 1 or 2 at the maximum clear down focuses. So what is it?
And the left argues that, look, Nixon created the EPA. This was a Nixon agency to make sure that we weren't polluting the environment. But at the same time, there is this pushback from the right that says, look, personal responsibility in business. You're a business owner. Can we trust businesses to live up to that responsibility, taking care of the environment while also creating jobs? Or should government just get out of it altogether?
Well, of course, my core is always, please get out of my way altogether. But the reality is there has to be some type of bookend, some type of parameters to say, this is our standard. I don't have a problem with this is our standard. What I have a problem with is asking me to do a myriad of things at the same time with very limited capital. It's not realistic. So am I pro-EPA? Yes, with some type of parameters. Have they gone gung-ho? Yeah, no, it's not even realistic anymore. So many rules and regulations, it takes hours to figure out, does this one work with that one? Well, that's a contradiction. That doesn't make any sense. And you're pigeonholing some of the largest companies that we have that then affect all the small businesses. Remember, what they do, that is our vendor. That's who we work for. It's a big domino effect. Jobs are #1 right now.
And regulation crushing business. Amelia Antonetti, great to see you this morning, as always.
Good morning.
Thanks for bringing the energy this morning. We needed it. Congressman Jeff Landry is sponsoring legislation asking the EPA official to resign. Joining us now, though, with more on this is the former CEO of Shell Oil and founder of Citizens for Affordable Energy. John Hofmeister joins us this morning. John, nice to see you this morning.
Good morning.
Now, I should say you're a Democrat, so you're not coming on with an axe to grind. In fact, you actually met with this EPA official a number of years ago, and when you heard these comments that came to light, are they reflexive of things that he had said to you in the past, or is this all new?
Well, I met him with a group of energy executives shortly after his appointment, and having been the president of a very large company with huge environmental responsibilities, he proceeded to say to me and to this group that he was there to end 8 years of environmental degradation, meaning the Bush administration's years. And I just rolled my eyes, because who is this person to come along several weeks after his appointment and suddenly condemn what all the companies in Region 6 had been doing over the last 8 years to provide environmental protection, not environmental degradation.
I mean, so when you
so
hear...
when I heard...
Go ahead. Sorry.
When I heard about this, I was not surprised, because when you look at his background, he's really not fit for the office. He's an environmental activist. He's a professor. Suddenly, he's in charge of a 6-state region, which is the breadbasket of the petrochemical industry and the oil and gas industry in the United States. It's a pathetic appointment, frankly.
His apology says this: I apologize to those I've offended and regret my poor choice of words. It was an offensive and an inaccurate way to portray our efforts to address the potential violations of our nation's environmental laws. But it sounds to me, John, like he's not really apologizing for the things he said then, because he's saying them repeatedly. So it sounds like this isn't the first time he's said those things.
I'm sure it's not. I mean, now he's the laughing stock of this region. I mean, why would anyone in the industry in this region have any regard for somebody who has such poor judgment as to condemn a prior administration, as I heard him say, or to make such an outrageous statement about crucifixion? Wherever he goes now, all you have to do is hold up a cross, and you can remind him what a fool he has been. So how can you rely upon his judgment over enforcement issues? He's made a sacrilege of the judicial process, or the justice that is supposed to be reflected in the Environmental Protection Agency.
John, it seems like the EPA has gone far afield from its original mission statement back in the day under Richard Nixon when it was founded, and it seems like it's more of a radical organization now, going after policies, trying to do away with certain businesses rather than trying to protect individuals. Am I wrong?
Well, it depends upon who you're working with. There are some very rational, reasonable, very concerned professionals that work in the agency, but when you get a person like this who goes off on his own, and you can imagine what advice and what counsel he has given to his regulators who work for him, then you go into these bizarre anecdotal experiences like some of the companies in Region 6 have faced under his leadership. So I wouldn't condemn the whole agency, but I would say that they need to do a very hard job of scrutinizing candidates for office before they appoint them. We don't need ideologues running major agencies.
Well said. Perhaps not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, an organization that does well, but this guy needs a review. John Hofmeister, thanks for joining us this morning. Great to see you.
Thank you.